Our trade union Popcru has berated government for severely cutting police budget. The union is calling for an urgent summit, raising a host of other issues facing their members. Our reporter Malungelo Booi attended that briefing a short while ago and joins me now live from Johannesburg. Malungelo, good morning, and please just take us through what Popcru is most concerned about.
Perhaps let's start here, Katlego. This is a union that essentially represents the police and also workers in some of the country's correctional services. So it's painting a picture of its members that are essentially depressed. It says they are overworked, but also angry at their employer for failing really to provide resources for the police and also for prison workers. But at the same time, though, the union is saying that the employer has essentially failed to actually pay workers what's due to them, what they're demanding. They're demanding at least a 10% wage increase, and they're saying that its members, the union is saying that its members have essentially not seen any wage increase since about what? Since, for a while now, but they're also saying that the employer has essentially has negated from that 2018 wage agreement. And that has actually been one of the things that most public servants, not only, the police and the prison workers have actually been talking about. This is something other members of other public servants have actually been complaining about the high inflation rate in this country, which is affecting the amount of money that they are taking home, saying that they're battling to put food on the table because of the inflation and the salaries that remain stagnant, and that's why they're saying that government really needs to come to the party. So what the union is saying is that over the coming weeks, what we're likely to see, its members in police stations across the country and in also some of the country's correctional services holding lunchtime pickets in a way, Katlego, to put pressure on government to do what's right. Let's just take a listen at the Secretary of Popcru, Jeff Dladla, explaining that to us earlier on.
As we welcome 10,000 new recruits who are currently undergoing training at different centers across the country, we are equally concerned that after their training, they will be sent to stations which are under-resourced with inadequate equipment to conduct their work as expected, as there is still not enough being done to ensure law enforcement officers have adequate resources to confront the rising crime rates in our country. And the Special NEC resolve on a call for an urgent crime summit, which should, among other things, look into escalating levels of violent crime, abuse on women and children, drug trafficking, the rehabilitation of unused mines as part of the challenges facing policing in the country. To achieve this, Popcru is calling upon all communities, police, criminal justice, policing agencies, peace and stability groups, academia, as stakeholders that should play a pivotal role in averting a potential disastrous situation wherein criminality grows unabated. Our members continue to be frustrated and demoralized by the refusal by government to implement the last leg of the Resolution 1 of 2018, especially clause 3.3, which speaks to salary increases. This has reduced these workers to financial hardships, while basic commodities continue to rise on a daily basis. The President endorsed the recommendations submitted by the Independent Commission on the remuneration of public office bearers that all political office bearers should get 3% salary increase. Therefore, Special NEC, in fact, deliberated at length around this matter that our members are angry, have been angered, in fact, by this increment of 3% to those public officers who don't even negotiate. Yet, currently in the negotiation, the government is not willing actually to budge on the inflationary increment. That actually have angered our members. Popcru then calls for to march to the union building The Special NSC vehemently rejected the current government offer of 2% salary increase, including a grant of 1,000 rand. We have always recognized that talks within the boardrooms don't always yield expected outcomes, and since the platforms which are aimed at facilitating such talks are being undermined.
Jeff Dladla there, Katleho, he's the Secretary General of Popcru. One of the things he also spoke about there, Katleho, is the issue of Crime Summit, saying that as Popcru, they want that Crime Summit where academics and other stakeholders or other people would be part of that gathering, where essentially they would come up with solutions in finding the crime, in finding solutions to the country's crime crisis. And of course, saying that while he understands communities would blame police, for the crime or for the lack of police in being able to tackle crime in their communities, he says police are actually under-resourced. So police cannot be blamed entirely for that, and that blame should go into the employer, that's the government, because it's the government who introduced those hard austerity measures, cutting police budget, and they're saying that because of the budget cuts, that means that police are poor resource, and that means they can't really, go out and deal with the crime in communities.
Now, Malungelo, what was Popcru's response in relation to the question that was asked in the media briefing in terms of the involvement of the police or some members of the police who are corrupt and therefore crippling the arm of the law?
Look, they do admit that there are problematic police officers, but they're saying that it is just a fraction, but also saying that that can really be dealt with when, when there's trust between communities and the police. But how then do you build that trust? You build that trust by ensuring, Katleho, that this is what they're saying, that by ensuring that there's more police on the ground. When there's more police on the ground, police will then be able, community members, then would be able to trust those, those police officers. And of course, this is something that a lot of people have spoken about, including government ministers, including and as well as community members, talking about how they no longer trust the police. And I know that the president has spoken about the issue of community police forums, saying that when those are strengthened, that then would assist in ensuring that there is trust between communities and the law enforcement officials. But look, as things stand, really, that's going to be the tall order, not only where we are in Gauteng, but this problem is across the country. I mean, communities complaining about how police are not there for them and how police are in cahoots with some criminal elements. This is something that we've heard all before. It's going to be interesting then to see or hear how Popcru as well as government, including communities, work around it.
Lastly, Malu, they did mention that there will be lunchtime pickets that will be taking place. Do we know when those will be taking place? They've also mentioned withdrawing of labor.
So what they're saying is that they're working on a plan of action, right? So we know by law, though, the police cannot take part in any strike. So it's also because they are an essential service. So because of that, they then cannot go on that strike. So what they're then saying is that they are working on a plan of action, and that plan of action will see its members then embarking on these lunchtime pickets. We have not been given a date as yet as to when these lunchtime pickets will take place, but we know, though, that Popcru members will next month, we're not sure of the date yet, they will march to the Union building, to the president himself, demanding that he address the many concerns that they have.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Malu, and for that update.